Well, time to get into our sports conversations, and we shall start with basketball. And before I introduce my guests, at the bottom right of your screen is our sign language interpreter, Lensa Odingo. So we start with a conversation about basketball, and it's a team that has got a lot of history and a lot of pride with it. But the name of the team that I'm talking about in 1995 didn't mean much, but after 1998, it started meaning a lot. We're talking about the University of Nairobi Terrorists, better known as Terra in the basketball circles. They're playing in the basketball league. The first half of the Kenya basketball, regular season, so to speak, is already done. 11 matches played, and they are happy that they're playing at that top tier, because everyone was asking at one point, in the younger days, if we had that cooperative bank and UON were going to play, something explosive was going to happen. And let me introduce the players who come in, and they're going to be telling the story of this basketball club. Well, on my immediate left, I have got Stephen Muhindi. He is a shooting guard for the team. Stephen, welcome to KBC. And you are our neighbors.
You always think you're working so
we are always working. Call us and we'll tell the story even from, the training grounds. And we've got their captain. Thank you very much, Captain Pharez Adala.
Thank you.
And welcome. And far left, we have got Malcolm Ajulu. He plays for the University of Nairobi and Terrorists. And first of all, let me start with you, Pharez. At the top tier of Kenyan basketball, so much focus on KPA, Equity Bank, Ulinzi Warriors. What has been your story after 11 matches?
These are very competitive teams, especially the teams that you have mentioned. They are very competitive teams. We only beat Equity once in the playoffs, so we've never really matched up with them fully, but we are hoping to match up with them the next time we play during our second leg.
KPA, we know they are in Madagascar. They are playing, Basketball Africa League qualifying.
Yeah.
What about them?
We've never beat them too, but they're really nice competition. Yeah, playing with them means you are playing amongst the best players in our league. They won the finals last season, and that's the reason they're in Ball. Yeah.
And finally, the other team that I want to mention, the Soldiers, Ulinzi Warriors.
Ulinzi Warriors. Yeah, they are soldiers. They play very physical games. Yeah, their games we used to put up a good fight, but in the end we lose, so to say. Yeah.
All right. Well, we know at least the Soldiers, they've got a lot of training. They are physically fit all the time by the time they leave boot camp back, and they know a thing or two about being physical. And Malcolm, let me come to you. You have been with this team before they were promoted to the Premier League. What was that feeling around, the history of Terra and the basketball team, and playing in the second tier of national basketball?
Now coming from that point, I joined the team after they were promoted to the Premier League. But watching as a fan at that time, it was a really good dogfight, I must say. They put up a good fighting, and I would say the Terra alumni, people who played for the team before, really played a big part, because they already showed us the standard, and what we had to do is just to see what they are saying and to actively put it on paper and work for it. So on that run, I believe everyone was focused, dialed in. They all knew what they had to do to get back to the Premier League, and the rest is history.
All right, debut season. Yes. What was it like? Once you made,
I would say it was jitters at first, but then after we got into it, we knew they are humans just like us, listening to our coaches, staying dialed in, just trusting the process. It became much easier, and it took off. Went on a run, had a few bumps along the way, But we made it to the playoffs. Actually, it was a first for all of us at that stage. And yeah, we put up a good account for ourselves, but we fell short in games 2 and 3 against Equity. But yeah, right now we know what we are working for, and we are actively going for it.
Okay. Now, Stephen, let me come to you. For most people in for university students, you come from high school. There is that gap time where you play. Depending on where you are, you may not get the chance to play basketball. From the everyday thing you see in high school, and joining the uni side. What was that transition for you, culture-wise, especially from high school and now come to college basketball?
Okay, right. In high school, I remember the first time I touched a basketball was in Form 4. Because, as you can see, I'm always like the short guy in the group. And a lot of people ask me, how do you play basketball when you're short? Tell them, basketball is a game of the mind sometimes, and it's all about your heart. So, in Form 4, I didn't play much, but I was a Form 4. Now you know joyriding. I used to go for the games, like Team Doctor or something. Just cook up something so that I could get out of school. Then I started.
Which was in high school?
I schooled in Muhindi High School. It's in Machakos.
Okay.
So the best team I saw playing in high school was Laser Hill and Upper Hill. I once watched a final of theirs in the Metropolitan. The guys were really good. So I was like, wow, this is basketball. It was something. So I came to the University of Nairobi, joined in 2017. And now this was something else, leave alone just high school basketball. Now we had grown men, people who are semi-pros, because in Kenya you don't go pro kabisa, you go semi-pro because you have to work and also play basketball. Wow, this was something. People are efficient from the 3-point line, people are efficient from the blocks, and you're like, wow, am I supposed to play these guys? It was a shock. But I always say to myself, it's a shock because I've not been taught how to do it. But once I sat with my coaches, one being Paddy Wakasiaka and the other Eugene Genga, it became easier now because they taught me, Steve, do this will happen, do this will happen. And mind you, that was what happened. So right now, playing for Terra, it's easier. I've grown up, I'm now a man playing with the men. It's nice.
Okay. Now, let me come to you, Pharez, because, for players who come in, what's the competition such that your coaches on game day have got to pick 12 names to go present? How do you go through this every week, every day?
Well, competition always begins at practice. During practice, first of all, we have 2 teams. The first team is a development team. They are named...
Okay, let me just interrupt you slightly. And we are talking about one of the oldest teams in Kenya's basketball, the University of Nairobi Terrorists. Well, that's a name they've had all along before, terrorism became a huge thing that disturbed everyone. And we've got 3 players, Stephen Muhindi on my immediate left. We've got the captain, Pharez Adala, and Malcolm Ajulu at the far. And let me come back to you, Pharez, as the captain. Every week, every match day, the coach has got to give 12 names. I know the players who do practice at the UON are not 12. You're bigger than that. How competitive is getting a slot, amongst the 12?
Getting a slot is not as hard. You just have to come for practice, do as the coach says, and you'll get a slot. You have to practice hard because these guys, my teammates, are not going to let you play easy without earning your kit. You have to prove to the coach that you can play. You have to prove to your teammates that you can play. Yeah.
A practice session, say this evening, what's the whole procedure?
We start by warming up, then we do a few ball drills, then we do a few game drills, play some scrimmage, then from there on we call it green gym. Yeah, we do some practices that involves carrying tires and running. Yeah, mostly running.
How many suicides does a coach require from you every day?
Okay, after every mistake you do a suicide, you have to punish the mistake, especially if the mistakes were made during the game we played over the weekend. Yeah, coach has to punish every mistake made. If you forget boxing out, you're punished. If you don't go for a steal, you're punished.
Wow.
Yeah.
Basically, okay, let me just put it into, if you were to think of a basketball court, and one suicide is running quarter way, move back, move to the halfway point, move back, go 3/4 length of the pitch, sprint back, go to the end of the court, and back. That is one suicide.
That's one suicide.
So that's just a description of what that one suicide can be. And you can imagine if you make 3 mistakes, you never went for the steal, you never went, for the block, you never boxed out. So what you're saying is, if you've got 4 mistakes in a game, that's 4 suicides.
That's 4 suicides.
The next day.
No, the mistakes you made during the practice session, you're punished for that mistake at the practice session. Then the ones you made during the game, you'll be punished later on as practice comes to a close. Yeah, before you warm down.
Yeah, Steve, you want to say something?
Yeah, and each suicide is supposed to be made in 30 seconds. So if you don't make in 30 seconds, go back. You have to make in 30 seconds. So everything has to be perfect. I guess that's what's getting us where we are.
Well, now, Malcolm, let me come to you, and let's talk about how you review your games. From the national team, the Morans, they grew in stature, played at the Afro-Can, then qualified for the Afro-Basket, didn't qualify for the next phase of the FIBA Basketball World Cup qualifiers. But a high-performance culture started trickling in. Video reviews, statistics being used on a day-by-day basis. How's that trickling down to the side?
Now, on our side, we usually have a team that helps to keep our stats for every game we've played. So we started last season, and I guess the advancement of technology has made this easier. So we are able to keep a track of how we play, and the coach can also plan for our opponents is much easier because we have now statistical evidence that happened in terms of the games we played against them earlier on, and also to look out for our opponents in terms of what they do frequently, what they don't do, where can we punish them whenever we meet them. So I guess that's a positive thing that we've borrowed from the national team. And I'm sure that the league is also catching up. More teams are also doing it. So, yeah, it helps us personally to also improve. Take a shot where, for instance, where you're good at. And yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, Pharez. Now, from the kind of video analysis is another thing. Just tell us how you go around it and picking up these little things, say from an opponent you played or even from opponents you're going to face next.
Well, from the statistics, we look at how they scored. The statistics tells you where they scored their points the most, if it's under the paint or if it's the 3-point line or inside the paint. The statistics will show you. Yeah, you'll also know who scored the most points. So when you meet them at second leg, you get to know who you're supposed to guard more, who you're supposed to be keen on to look at. The one who scores mostly on the first leg will be the one scoring on the second leg. So you have to be keen on that. You have to know who you didn't box out. You have to know how many steals they had, how many turnovers your team had. You have to know what's the best way of scoring, if it's under the paint or if it's at the 3-point line. Yeah.
And let me simply put it this way. If I was to come to you, Stephen,
yes, sir,
and you're to pick your own analysis of how the game has changed, just by the reviews that are being done, the statistics that are being picked by your team, and also the video analysis, yes, that you've had for the 11 matches that you've played so far.
I'll say, like, for example, we are more efficient because you know where you shoot best, you know where you score most points, you know who's your go-to guy at what time of game. Like, for example, when we played KU are a guard-oriented team. So we knew if we involved Pharez, our captain, and Ojo, who play in the paint more, will be more successful. So that's what the coach did, played in the paint more, and it worked out for us really good. When we play Ulinzi are more physical and they are big man-oriented team. So our guards have to show up. Coach does his thing, our guards show up. Then we compete. Yeah.
And if you had, okay, you mentioned about those two sides, Kenyatta University being, being a guard team, so you've got to use your big men.
Yeah.
Now let me just think of other sides. If you had to talk about, let me pick some random ones here. If you had to play Strathmore, what would be the approach?
Strathmore, they are, let me say, hard team. There are people who go for everything. They shoot, go for everything. So for them, coach will want us to box out more. Coach will want us to balance the court. Balance the court meaning where we attempt, somebody has to remain from the half court so that they don't run on us. They are also big man oriented. So our guys will do the work for us. Yes.
Now, Pharez, if you're going to play Thunder, what would be the challenge for them?
Okay, Thunder is usually a shooting team. Yeah, they shoot a lot of threes. So our role is just to close out, try making it difficult for them so that when they shoot, if they miss, we punish them on transition. Yeah. And we have to take out some of their shooters. Yeah, they have good dribblers also. So we have to take out some of them. So I believe also our guards will have to do the work for us. Yeah.
And Malcolm, let me just come to you. And the rivalry between Nairobi University and Kenyatta University has been there, and it is crazy. Now, the KU Pirates played against the University of Nairobi Terrorists, and that was on the 16th of October. That match ended 79-77, a 2-point game. Now, Malcolm,
Yes.
tell us the story of that game, because I know it was heavy for you. And we know what happens in the stands. UON on this side, KU on this side, and there is a lot of banter coming through.
A brief recap of the game. So I think in the first quarter, they were leading. They shot a lot of threes. They played well transition offense. And we were just slow to stop them in the first quarter. We changed that in the second, and I think we fought back well to give us a good lead. And in the third quarter, they just wouldn't go away. They kept on at it, their strong points. They kept on at it, going to their best options for that game. And the guards showed up for the game. And in the fourth quarter now, I believe we had a healthy lead. We were supposed to put the game to rest at that time. Unfortunately, we didn't. We lost a bit of concentration, and that gave them a route to come back to the game. They also took a lead late in the fourth quarter. Our coaches, Brian Busu and Eugene Genga, advised us to keep our heads and that to trust the system that we've trained over and over again. Our chances will come, so we just need to capitalize and just get a stop. Capitalize, make a stop. That's what we did late in the fourth quarter, and propelled us to a win.
Pharez, the outcome of it, I'm sure.
We won, but it was a very interesting game. Yeah, it was very. In fact, the last basket scored, we weren't even sure it was going to be a basket, and it was that nervous. Yeah.
You were not very sure about that?
Because someone just ran and the ball was tossed over to him and he scored. He knows how to play, but fun.
Steve.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the first time you had me mention that game, you said, "Why?"
I know it was interesting for you guys, but for us it was like, oh my God, because we knew we really had to win this. Because before we were promoted with KU 2 years ago, and we played the finals, we beat them. Unfortunately, in Kusa of the University League, they play on the other side of Nairobi, we play on this other side, so we don't meet. So when we meet, it's always a clash of heads. who wins the game is going to talk more. We can't let them talk, man. We have to be the ones. We're the big dogs out here, the University of Nairobi. A pirate can't be ahead of a terrorist. That's what's up, man.
All right. Now, one of the things that, you know, I mean, just taking a look at the videos that are playing on the screen is surfaces that are not standard. Malcolm, how do you adapt from, say, tarmac to concrete to, say, hardwood if you're going to play KPA at the Makande Hall, or if you get to play at Kasarani, which is a totally different surface? How do you adapt to it?
Now, when we first prepare for the game, we have to do warm-ups, make sure your body is right, wear the right attire in terms of shoes, socks, and everything. So you just know where you're going to play. If it's outdoor, know what you can do, but always it's on brand for our team to play hard, no matter where's the surface. Because I believe we are basketball players first. The rest, you know, will just follow. And whether it's Nyayo or anything, we are glad to play there. It doesn't really matter for us. Just tell us the time and place, we'll be there to play.
No, but the reason I want to bring this is at the level you are at, basketball is an indoor sport.
Yes.
The surface is wood, ideally at international level. But how do you adapt? Because, you know, how fast you can run on tarmac, how fast you can run on concrete, how fast you can move on, say, Nyayo, which is a different surface. It's quite different. How do you adapt to that?
So now, this is what our coaches incorporate in our training. Every time after training, the conditioning we do all helps in the long term. So the more conditioning we do helps us to be injury-free, and also one of us encounters an injury, he's advised to go for physio sessions that we have, and yeah, it helps. So we are also told of how to stretch and everything, so we take it seriously, as much as we take playing seriously.
Now, Pharez, I remember when we were in high school, there was a tarmac court. So what the players would do is they would have
A color
fixed. Exactly. Yes, and a used tire fixed on the soles of the shoes, so that they don't wear out. Because the shoes that you use for basketball, I mean, ideally are designed for that. So how do you take care of footwear? So if you're going to play on tarmac, or if you're going to play on different surfaces that are not tough on the shoes?
Well, we are very thankful to our university alumni association, because most of the time they come up for most of us. They support us by bringing us new shoes. They support us by bringing us new jerseys. Yeah, this association. Yeah, they support us by bringing us new gadgets we need to practice. Yeah, so most of the time we don't put a color at the soles of our shoes so that we play better. But all in all, we thank the university for providing us with the facilities. Yeah.
And Steve, let me come to you when it comes to, you know, for example, the alumni.
Yes,
because I can see all of Terra alumni are there,
gladly,
proudly supporting this side. What's the interaction with them, and what kind of pressure do they give you?
So I've been in the team for
support now.
Oh yes, I've been in the team for 4 years, and each and every single year we have. It's during a holiday or when they are mostly available. They come through, we play some games, they interact with us. First and foremost, there's the basketball side, where now as you can see from my jersey, we have the Terra Rumle. They bring us jerseys, because when I joined, we had one blue jersey, which is tough because you also have teams that have a blue. So if you're going to meet them, when you're the away team, you have to wear a dark color. So you have to put something else on. But right now, I have blue, we have black, and also you have white. They help us with that. About the shoes, we don't have to put a color now because they come through again. During every match, we have water on the sideline. We also have some of them accommodating for our transport sometimes. And then on the other side, on the professional side, because we are student athletes, we play as well as we're also in school. So when you're done with school, we have programs where they incorporate you into the working society. So we have some of them who have graduated as doctors, accountants, statisticians. So if you've done a course in their line, you get their number, talk to them. They'll advise you on what to do, and if they have a spot in their place, they'll also incorporate you. Then we had a session last year where we had one of our old boys came in and taught us. He's an HR, so he came in and taught us on helpful, manze, because for some people they don't have that, and it's really hard. Yeah.
And let me come to you, Pharez. And this is something that everyone just takes a look at. Transitions at university. You come in as a student unless you're doing architecture, which is 6-7 years, or medicine, which is that long.
Yeah.
At one point you'll have to leave. I mean, the team will have to keep changing personnel. How do you deal with this transition? How do you blood in the first years?
I think our coach is very ambitious. Our coach Eugene Genga has a plan for it. So as I mentioned earlier, we are thankful for the university for allowing us to register a second team in the NBA league. So those are mainly first years, and second years we are developing them to be the next Stevens and the next Ajulus of the team. Yeah, so in the end, we are in a situation where if Steve leaves, there's always a person to replace Steve. When Ajulu leaves, there's always a person to replace Ajulu. Yeah.
And you could give us, a real outlook for you as you head to the second phase of this Kenya Basketball Federation Premier League season, Malcolm.
When my time comes to leave, I believe I can get a team, and also I won't be scared that the team is at a bad place, because I'm sure there are people who are ready to step up at any given point to come in. And the team will always have a replacement, better in fact, because our coach always rewards effort and hard work. So once you put in the necessary requirement that is needed of you, you'll get your chance, and you'll get your chance to represent Terra.
Well, and looking at some of the lessons you've learned from the first leg, teams that you'd want to at least let them know that you picked up something and you've learned, which ones would you be looking at? Pharez, I'll start with you.
Mostly Ulinzi.
Why Ulinzi?
They are very physical, and I believe we can match up their competition. Yeah, if we play better, we can match up their competition. We're always looking to improve and face our competition. Yeah, and they're the ones who I think are the most physical in the league. Yeah, so if we match up to them, we'll be better.
What about Eldonets? Where would you place them?
Eldonets, somewhere between 3-4. Yeah.
So is it a team? What kind of experience? I mean, what would be the reaction? For you, if you're told Eldonets are the next team that you're going to play, what would you be looking out for?
Okay, I'll be very happy because I like playing. Then I'd look for, they like shooting. They're a shooting team. Then I'd look for our coach's instructions on how to play them. If he requires boxing out, we'll box out. If he requires us making more shots, we'll make them. Yeah.
All right. And Steve, I'll let you have, the last word. For you, a late entrant into the game. Now you're playing at the top tier. We talk about 6-7 years. I know there are people who've played basketball since Form 1, so they've had an edge. What's the story you'd like to give to any youngster who's in high school as they transition to college?
First thing is first, and it's a rule about life. Hard work pays. And if you're consistent with your craft, I think you'll get where you want. It doesn't usually have to be like, if I start working now, tomorrow everything will be better. It doesn't work that way sometimes. we're not all that lucky. So if you start working hard now and you're consistent about it, one day, one time, God is faithful. You will get there. It's definite.
For the rest of the team, I know they're watching. And what's the message that you'd give them? Malcolm, and then I come to you, Captain Pharez.
Stay hungry. We all know what we are fighting for, and we're getting there when we listen to our coaches and the alumni group.
Okay, Pharez, you'll have the last word. You're the boss of the team.
Okay, I'd like to tell my teammates to stay humble. We still have goals to achieve. We are not there yet. We still have to work more and improve on our mistakes. Yeah.
All right, and I'm sure the coach, I know he's busy. He's going to get a copy of that. He wants to listen. He wants to get to hear what you said. You've spoken very good things about him and what he does when you actually misbehave, and the suicides that he does, and they get you very fit. And so 30 seconds for a suicide. If you've got to do 4, well, I wouldn't want to try and do that anymore. But thank you very much, gentlemen. University of Nairobi terrorists, and also great to see that the university alumni supporting the team that they played for, keeping up with the game. Thank you very much, Stephen, Pharez, and Malcolm.
You're most welcome.